Hi, welcome back to the Taking Care of Tutu podcast. I'm your host. My name is Meg Obanoff, and we're starting out by just breaking down some legal concepts that are important when we're thinking about planning, estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, probate. So in our last episode, we talked about what is a power of attorney and why they're super important. What is a probate? So a lot of us have heard the word probate. A lot of people kind of know it's something not great, time consuming, expensive, but they're not exactly sure what it is and how you can avoid it. So what a probate is it's a court process that happens when you pass away. If you have not done any estate planning and you have some assets, specifically over $100,000 or $100,000 or more. This is in the state of Hawaii because the laws are different in every state. So I'm just talking about Hawaii because that's where I'm licensed to practice law. And that's where I do practice law. So in Hawaii, if you have any real estate or if you have assets that are worth more than $100,000, and if you don't really do anything to plan for that, meaning do a trust or name beneficiaries, then when you pass away, your estate has to go through a process called probate. So, you know how when when you're alive and you want to sell a property or a car, there's a title that goes along with that. So you have to sign off on the title when you're selling that item. So when you pass away, obviously you can no longer sign off on the title. So probate is the process of the court appointing someone. That person's called your personal representative and giving them the authority to sign off on things and manage things on your behalf. So if you don't have any estate plan and you pass away and you have over $100,000, then your estate will go through probate. What that actually means is usually someone calls us, contacts us by phone or email. We do an intake with them, find out what the assets are when the person passed away. We do need to get a copy of the death certificate. That's best if we have a copy of that, but that does take about 30 days. It can take longer if there's an autopsy or other things going on. So typically we want to have a death certificate in order to do the probate. That's not a hard and fast rule. If there's an emergency situation, sometimes we can get the mortuary to write a letter verifying that the person has passed away, and that will work to open a probate as well. So we would do an initial filing at court, and our goal is to have that reviewed by the registrar of probate and to get someone appointed. Hawaii is a little bit different than some other states. We have an informal probate system that we've had for um, almost 30 years, maybe 25 or more years. And what's nice about that is we don't have to go appear in court before a judge for every kind of hearing. So that does make the probate process, although still burdensome, it is much smoother than some other states like California. I'm not licensed in California, but we do get hired on to California probate sometimes because the person who died owned a condo or a timeshare on Maui. And so we're kind of working with a California attorney, and they do take a really long time. And they seem like they're always formal probates where every single thing has to happen in front of a judge with a court order. Sometimes people don't even know if there is a will or not. And then they usually inquire with the probate section of the Hawaii State Bar, and they'll send us all an email. Hey, did anyone do a will for this person? So once the personal representative is appointed, they have to inventory the assets. Their job is to protect the assets. Sometimes that means securing things, changing locks if they're worried beneficiaries are going to come try to clean out the safe or things like that. I know that sounds crazy, but everything I'm saying has happened in the years that I've been practicing. So once the person has kind of locked everything down and figure out what there is, the personal representative's job is to pay all the bills for the decedent. Sometimes they are all known. So maybe there's a child who's caring for an elderly parent. They know who all the creditors are, where all the bills are getting paid because they've been doing it already. And then when the person passes, they maybe have a final electric bill, hospital bill, and they know everything. Sometimes when the person hasn't been managing the decedent's money, they don't really know like what their credit card debts were. So they'll want to publish notice in the newspaper. Sometimes you'll see those like in the Maui News or the Honolulu Advertiser. And the reason people are doing that is because it creates like a speak now or forever hold your peace kind of situation where it shortens the timeline for people to come forward. So you publish it in the newspaper and follow the law in doing that. We can advise you on that. And then people have a certain amount of time to come forward. And if they don't come forward within that time, if they call 3 days after that time limit is expired, we're allowed to say, oh, I'm so sorry, you didn't get your claim in time. And so they don't get it. So that's why the other reason why people will publish. One, because they don't know. And two, because they want to cut off the creditor claim legally so that anyone who comes a year later and asks for money, they can't. That's not the same as known creditors. Obviously, if you know your loved one was in the hospital, you can reasonably expect that there is going to be a hospital bill. This is more like a Discover card that you didn't even know existed, and they come in after the claim period expired. So once the bills are paid, the assets are figured out and the bills are paid, then it's the job of the personal representative to distribute according to what the will says. So this is not like a creative exercise. We want the personal representative to do exactly what the will says. If you're the personal representative and it says deed the house to this person, that's what you do. You don't get to deed the house to yourself if it says to deed it to somebody else.